Welcome, everybody, once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron Bloxel with my co-host, Mr. Matt Balzer. Today's episode brought to you by Flash Wireless. If you're in the U.S. And you want an alternative cell phone provider, nationwide coverage, you can go with Flash. Bring your own device, get free cell phone when referring friends and family to the service. Click on our Facebook website and get all the details there. Matt, great game the other night between St. Louis, Boston. Series is all tied up, 2 games apiece. Man, St. Louis came right out of the gate just firing all guns blazing.
Oh man, yeah, it was they were just dominant. Like Ryan O'Reilly and Alex Pietrangelo were absolute monsters in this game. I think we were talking about just going over the stats. Pietrangelo played 29 minutes and 37 seconds. He had two primary assists, setting up both off rebounds, actually, setting up the Tarasenko goal, and then the game winner where Ryan O'Reilly got his second goal. When he was on the ice, the 5-on-5 shot attempts were 21-10 for St. Louis, and the scoring chances were 5-1, and goals were 3-0 when he was on the ice. So just absolute monster.
He basically he played every second shift.
Yeah.
And when he wasn't on the ice, Parayko and Bouwmeester were on the ice. So, I mean, St. Louis really needed that game, and they found a way to get it.
Yeah, and then Ryan O'Reilly, talk about your top players stepping up at big time, scoring 43 seconds into the game. The fastest goal in the Stanley Cup final since Joel Otto in 1989, where he scored 28 seconds. The NHL record is set by Jean Beliveau all the way back in 1965, where he scored 14 seconds into a game. And then, but yeah, those 2 guys really stood out to me. Also getting Oscar Sundqvist back into the lineup. He played just over 19 and a half minutes in that game, which shows just how big of a piece he was, because him, Barbashev, and Steen were a huge part in shutting down the Bruins' top line. And then they also got Vince Dunn back in the lineup, and his point shot helped lead to that opening goal by Ryan O'Reilly. And Zach Sanford, who was able to stay in the lineup, also thought he had another strong game. He assisted on that opening goal, and I think he had like 4 or 5 hits as well.
Yeah, Sanford actually was named 3rd star in the game, and I was surprised he stayed in the lineup with guys like Robbie Fabry, of course, sitting, and Robert Thomas getting close to returning. But Sanford's got some good size, and he's added some grit to that team. But St. Louis, overall, I mean, they out-hit and outshot and outplayed Boston from start to finish. Braden Shen gets a good chance to score in the second period. Chara does what everybody should never do, is he gets a stick in the way, deflects it up into his own face. I feel bad for Chara, but it looks like he might miss some games with what they're calling a broken jaw. With him and Grzelcyk potentially not playing next game, how big is that for Boston?
Yeah, that's a huge loss, because especially with what is being reported as a broken jaw, that'll be huge, because it's like he left in the second, and then he didn't come back, and then on the third period he came out with the fishbowl on, and everybody's just like, oh, okay, he's coming back, and then all of a sudden, I think about like 7 minutes went by, and then someone was, I forget if it was Simpson or Houston, was like, oh, Chara hasn't had a shift yet in the third period. So everybody's like, okay, there's something up here, sort of thing. So, yeah, if that's a report, is just like you could maybe play through it, though I wouldn't want to play with a broken jaw. And with Grzelcyk, apparently he's still in a concussion protocol, but he said today that he's actually hoping to play tomorrow. So if he's in that will offset the loss for Chara. But if he's not, then they got to go to either Steven Kampfer or a guy like either a younger guy like Euro Vakanainen to join in the lineup. And then that puts a lot of pressure on guys like Torrey Krug, Charlie McAvoy, and Brandon Carlo will be the big 3 there. John Moore, I guess, will be the 4th guy moving up into the top 4. So that'll be a really big loss. But we've seen it in other series where the Blues' physicality has really taken a toll on the other team. And this one, it was just bad luck. But So sometimes the bounces just don't go your way.
Yeah, and missing Chara, I think on the PK will definitely hurt them. Just his size and his presence and his ability to get in the way of shots and stuff. I mean, that might have a different look for St. Louis on any power plays. But what are your thoughts? I guess today is Wednesday. We're going to be playing Game 5 tomorrow night, Thursday night. Back in Boston, what do you think is going to happen?
I know, yeah. So
Put you on the spot here. You think
I know,
Boston's
yeah.
going to bounce back, or you think St. Louis is going to take the 3-2 lead?
Well, if we're going off of what the series has been going on, it's like teams have been going back and forth, trading wins apiece. So I'll go with Boston at home, and then I don't know. I'm gonna guess we're gonna go 7 games here. So I think I'll have Boston winning in Game 5, and then St. Louis comes back, wins in Game 6, and then I'll figure out who's gonna win Game 7 at a later date. But the two guys for Boston that I think really need to step up front is Brad Marchand. He had no shots on goal last game. He played just under 21 minutes. And David Krejci, who doesn't even have a point in this series, and he also didn't have any shots on goal. Those are two guys that really need to step up their game for Boston. I think like Tuukka Rask had another strong game in net. But yeah, Boston, they only had 23 shots on goal in the entire game, and only 4 in the third period in a tie game. So they need those guys to step up. St. Louis, basically just keep doing what you're doing in Game 4. That's exactly the way you need to play. Looks like they will have one lineup change, though, at least. It looks like Joel Edmondson will be coming out of the lineup for Robert Bortuzzo. Edmonton's ice time slowly been going down each game in this series, and last game he only played just under 7.5 minutes. So with Gunnarsson staying in the lineup and Dunn there, it just makes sense to have another right-hand shot with Bortuzzo, who's actually, I thought, had a pretty good Stanley Cup final so far, even though he's been a healthy scratch the last game there. So
well, it definitely adds some more size to a large St. Louis lineup already. I think St. Louis will win in Boston, but it really is going to come down to if Berube gets his matchups or not. I have a feeling with Sundqvist in the lineup, St. Louis is a whole different team, and he makes a big difference because that line, Barbashev, Steen, and Sundqvist just really makes a big difference. They're physically banging and crashing. Doesn't matter which line they're playing against, but if he can get that line out against the Bergeron, Marchand, and Pastrnak line, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and another guy, I'm not sure, Robert Thomas, how close he's coming back to the lineup, but if he is in for Game 5, I'd expect maybe a guy like Sammy Blais to come out of the lineup, just because I think Sanford has been playing a whole lot better than him, I think.
Although Blais does get credited for 4 or 5 hits a game, so
I know, yeah. So, but if you're going on who has the hot hand right now, it's just I go with I keep Sanford in the lineup over him. Because I think Blais actually only played I think around the seven minutes as well, and you got Pat Maroon there as well, who's sort of the same type of player. So Thomas would be another big boost for St. Louis. So if they start getting healthy and Bruins keep losing guys on that back end, that'll be a huge upgrade for the Blues.
Well, Maroon, of course, the net front presence on the power play line 1 for St. Louis. So they got some big bodies, and if they keep pounding Boston, I think over the duration of a series, it adds up. And I said that against San Jose in Game 1. San Jose won that game, but St. Louis threw some monster hits, and then you saw San Jose's defense start. Their whole team started getting injured games 5 and 6. And I almost see the same thing happening here in this series. Boston's got to be feeling it, even though they're a pretty good sized team too. But St. Louis size and height, they are a big team to play against. I know we have some signings and of course some new assistant coaches as well around the league. Let's get everyone caught up with what's been going on.
Yeah, so basically like an hour or so after we did our last show on Monday about the Philadelphia Flyers being aggressive this offseason, well, they made a trade. So they acquired the rights for Kevin Hayes from the Winnipeg Jets for a 5th-round pick in this year's draft. Hayes split the season between the Rangers and the Winnipeg Jets this year. Had 19 goals, 55 points in 71 games, and added another 2 goals and 3 points in 6 playoff games. He had a cap hit of $5.175 million this past season. With the Flyers, they have a whole lot of cap space this offseason. They have $33.4 million to spend. And the only notable RFAs this year are Hartman, Lawton, Travis Konechny, Sanheim, and Ivan Provorov. Those are the big ones. And they got no notable UFAs that they got to sign. So if Hayes wants to get there or sign there, I think the Philadelphia will have the money to spend. I think it'll be a perfect fit as a second-line center. They can move Nolan Patrick down to the third-line center as he continues to grow his game. And they also have the connection with Alain Vigneault, who coached him with the New York Rangers. Few players signed in the KHL. For one guy staying in the KHL, Pavel Datsyuk. Looks like Bob McKenzie reported that he's staying one more year in the KHL, except he's just switching teams. Antti Niemi is leaving the Montreal Canadiens, and he's going to the K. Yori Laterra, also with the Philadelphia Flyers. His big cap hit's finally coming off from one of those terrible deals, is heading to the KHL as well. The Florida Panthers, they rounded out their coaching staff for this upcoming season. A lot of former Chicago Blackhawks coaches that were with Quenneville, Mike Kitchen and Andrew Brunette, and Derek McKenzie will be the assistant coaches, and Rob Tallis will be the goalie coach. So McKenzie, who's actually the captain for the Panthers, I think not this past season, but the 2 years prior to that, battled a bunch of injuries, I think, this year. So he's officially retiring and joining the coaching staff. Mark Crawford is leaving the Ottawa Senators. He was the interim coach there and is joining the Chicago Blackhawks organization as an assistant coach. His son Dylan is actually a coach there with the Blackhawks as well. So you got a family connection there. And then there's a bunch of rumors and stuff floating around. We got there was a Jesse Puljujarvi rumor saying that he was going to sign the KHL, but that was debunked, saying he's rehabbing from his hip surgery, and then he plans to stay in the NHL. Erik Karlsson had successful groin surgery. That was something that hampered him throughout the entire season, and yet he still put up a crap ton of points, which is crazy to think that he's actually still tied for first place in assists in the playoffs right now, which is crazy. What else do we have here? We have Jordan Binnington. A couple of things. He is now 7-2 following a loss in the playoffs, which is tied for second most in NHL history with Henrik Lundqvist and Marc-Andre Fleury. The only guys that have had more in one playoff season is Ron Hextall in 1987, and the other two in 2004, and Mika Kiprusoff and Nikolai Habibulin each had 8. So if the Blues do lose next game, I think it's a high possibility the Blues will bounce back in Game 6 the way that he's been playing. And he's also one win away from tying the NHL rookie record for most wins in a single postseason by a rookie goalie. He is up 14. The record's 15, which is shared by Patrick Waugh, Ron Hextall, Cam Ward, and Matt Murray. So just crazy how good he's been this postseason.
You got a Patrice Bergeron stat as well.
Oh yes, the Bergeron. I think we said the last game he tied Phil Esposito for second all time in Bruins franchise playoff points. He got it on the Carlo goal with an assist. So he's now up to 103 points, taking sole possession of second place in franchise history, with only Raymond Bourque having more with 161. So, but yeah, that's about it.
I've got because we're an everything hockey show. We chatted before the show, but Team Revision started a new pro team for all you roller hockey fans that are out there, and they announced a couple days ago. They're slowly announcing their roster one player at a time per day here. And Vancouver Canuck Jake Virtanen will be playing for them this summer on the West Coast Narch tournament. So Revision Pro, they're called the Rally Cats, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe one more NHL player still named on that team. But roller hockey, great way to improve your skills with the puck. I firmly believe that. Guys like Pat Maroon, Jake Vertanen, Jason Chimera, Rocco Grimaldi, Chase DeLeo. There's so many guys out there that have played roller hockey that have had a lot of success. Ryan Kessler, David Booth back in my day, Joel Ward.
Alex Burrows.
Alex Burrows was a ball hockey guy, yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, roller hockey, it's a great way to practice your skills and learn how to have possession with the puck. So, yeah, that's what I've got. I don't know. Do you have anything? Do you want the last word before we end today's show?
I'll just touch on some Canuck news, as we are Canuck fans. There's a couple things. Jim Benning was on the radio.
Fan base. We're going to torture you guys.
Yeah. So Jim Benning was on the radio this morning and touched on a couple things. The Brock Besser contract apparently is progressing really well. I think there was some reports that saying they were super far apart, but apparently things are moving along. Nikita Triamkin returning is actually a pretty high possibility. He was talking with his agent just this past week, though. Triamkin still has one more year left on his KHL contract before he can come back over. And the good thing is that if he does return, he can bring size, and he can also play on the right-hand side as a left-hand shot, which is something the Canucks really need. Is some guys that can play on the right-hand side. And also prospect Oli Jolevi is expected to meet with a doctor this week, and if everything goes well, he's expected to start skating this coming week, which is good news. Hopefully we can finally get him in a Canucks jersey sooner rather than later, as he's had a couple of lost seasons with all the injuries that he's had to deal with. And also the Canucks were rumored to be maybe in on Jason Zucker. And I saw Nikita Zaitsev's name was thrown out there as well, but I'm hoping that was just Benny checking in. And if they do go after Zaitsev, it's more what else they can get from Toronto with all their cap situation.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of speculation in Toronto right now that Kapanen might be part of a Zaitsev package to help whoever is taking on the Zaitsev contract.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's going to be a lot. I think every good GM should check in on anybody's name that gets tossed around just to see the probabilities of it. I mean, it's part of your due diligence as a general manager around the league. But that's all the time we've got for today. Remember to like and share, comment below. Whether you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, please subscribe. Share us with your friends. Help us get the word out about B&B Hockey Talk. We thank you for all our new subscribers and fans that are out there. We love bringing this to you guys. And if you want to support the show, you can always help by supporting our sponsor of the month, because we do get a little bit of financial kickback from that to help us bring these shows to you guys each and every single week. So we will see you guys on Friday, and everybody have a great week. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Blues, Bruins, Game 5. It's going to be great. And we'll see you guys then.